everybody. This is Edie with another episode of Table for One at Millrace Center. Today I have with me Courtney Watkins. She's our Aging Well Coordinator here at Millrace Center. She's going to be helping me with the bounty from our garden. We have a garden here at Millrace Center. You may not know that. And Courtney kind of is in charge of that and helps work that. And she let me pick some vegetables from our garden to make this gorgeous display. Today we're going to work on some things that maybe you haven't tried before. Everybody has an abundance of zucchini right now. Maybe you've got green tomatoes. Maybe you've got more peppers than you know what to do with. Well, instead of making zucchini bread, today we're going to go kind of off the charts a little bit and show you some new recipes you have not tried before. We hope you enjoy, so let's get started. Hi, Courtney.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
now, Courtney's going to start by getting some zucchini prepped for us. She's going to use our spiral slicer here. You see these on As Bought on TV. And she's going to spiral slice some zucchini for me. We're going to fry that up in a minute. I'm going to get started with some green beans. Now, I already cleaned these really well, took the ends off, and also tried to keep pretty consistent on the lengths of these. And we're going to blanch these. Blanching is just where you throw these in some boiling water for about 5 minutes and then throw in an ice bath. That makes them bright green and crispy, but still very much more edible than just eating them raw. While those are cooking away over here, I'm missing something already. Where are my tongs? Here we go. There they are. They're right over here by my ice bath. Perfect. We were just joking before we came on camera that we do these all in one take. We don't have a production company. It's just us. So you see what you get. Fortunately, we work with something called mise en place. And mise en place is where everything's in its place. So we pretty much know that everything we need is at hand. But if we need to cut away to go grab something, Courtney will sing for you.
Yeah.
All right. While she's doing that, I'm going to get some other vegetables prepped. We're going to be doing a zucchini pesto today. So Courtney's preparing the pesto for that. We're going to do a roasted pepper and mozzarella dip. We're going to do a green tomato salsa and a green bean and cherry tomato salad. So lots of gorgeous, good for you, healthy foods today. So I'm going to get started cutting up these peppers.
This thing is amazing.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great way. Now, what's lovely about this zucchini pesto is that it is very low in fat. I love pesto because it just is a fabulous ingredient in the kitchen. But it tends to be very high fat because of the amount of olive oil we put in it. This is going to use that moist zucchini to cut a lot of the olive oil out that we use for moisture. We'll still put a little bit in for flavor. Meanwhile, I am just cutting some of these gorgeous sweet peppers. Now, these are not hot peppers. These are those sweet peppers. You can buy those in a bag at the grocery store. They're fairly inexpensive. Or if you're lucky enough to get a good crop out of the garden like we did, you'll be able to use the ones you have. We're going to roast these in the oven. We've got a lot of stuff going in the oven today. So we've got our peppers and the green tomatoes going in just a couple minutes. Now I'm cutting the ends off of these because it makes for a little better eating experience. But for presentation, some people leave the stems on because it gives it a little more rustica look, a little more prettiness in the dish itself. But then you have to mess with the stem and seeds while you're eating it. And I don't think that's very much fun.
How many zucchinis would you say we need?
We're going to go ahead and cut up, I think we had 4 or 5 of them, didn't we?
Yeah, 4?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do them all.
All right.
Again, this is making a pesto out of the zucchini. And zucchini tends to, once we get the moisture out of there and get it cooked, it tends to shrink up a little bit. Just a lot of prepping. So, Courtney, tell me a little bit about Aging Well. What your department does here at Millrace Center.
Well, I am the Aging Well Coordinator, so I run a lot of the Aging Well things. And Aging Well means that you are aging in total and healthy. You're addressing all dimensions of your body. So our 8 dimensions, you might have to help me with this. We've got physical, social, intellectual, environmental, financial. There we go, we'll just cheat. Emotional, vocational, and I think I was missing spiritual. So all of our programs here at Millrace Center fall under one of these 8 dimensions. So in our newsletter, we have this handy little back page where you can actually go through and pick out which classes and programs you'd like to try, so you can fill in all 8 dimensions.
Wonderful. And what does that do for us?
It helps you age well.
Yay! We all want to age well. So will I look younger?
Definitely.
Well, sign me up. Sign
Edie
me up.
is a great example of this.
You're right, because of all of those dimensions, whether they be the spiritual or the physical, keeping a good exercise, keeping a balance, especially in these day and age, very important for us, isn't it?
Yep.
And a lot of what we do in travel fits many of the dimensions of aging. That's one of the reasons I'm very pleased and happy that we have such a great travel department here once we're able to travel again, because it fulfills so many of the dimensions of aging areas. Now, you do a lot more than just work in the garden, though, here, too. What else do you do?
Oh, yeah. So if you ever get a survey in the mail, that's from me. So I collect data and I write some grants. I work a lot in the garden. So we're actually trying to start a garden club. So if you're interested in gardening, or if you're good at gardening or you're not good at gardening, we could use some help in the garden. So that's the goal. I also help with Medicare. So I know a lot about Medicare, so I can help sign up, and I do appointments.
That's
So,
important. I know my
yeah.
mom is in that position right now where she needs to change plans this year.
Yep.
So I told her what the services you offer, that you can sit down with people and go through
Yep.
the different plans and find out what's valuable for them. Now, here's a little cooking tip for you. When you're cutting on a cutting board, if you put a cloth underneath your cutting board, just a damp one, it keeps your cloth from scooting around. And then, if you need to flip your board over, you've got a cloth underneath it that'll help keep your counter clean too. So that's just a nice little tip to help with cutting vegetables that keeps them from scooting all over. Now, did you check our green beans? Again, just about 5 minutes, just a quick boil on those. They're beautiful and bright green. And we're going to throw those in an ice bath in just about a minute. Now, I've washed all these veg earlier, so they're all nice and clean and ready to go for us. So we're just chopping off the ends and getting them into pieces that we can work with. All right, here goes our green tomatoes. Now, these are true green tomatoes. There are tomatoes that are grown just for eating that are green. Zebra stripe, green zebra stripe is one. It actually has a flavor like a ripe tomato. You would like to eat that just normal, but these are tomatoes that are going to be ripe eventually. So especially late in the fall, when you realize your garden's on its last legs, the leaves have all wilted on your tomato plants, but you have a lot of green tomatoes still hanging, they're never going to turn red. So this is a great recipe to use for those. I'm just going to move this tray over here real quick so I can load it up with green tomatoes. But first, I've got to get these green beans out of our boiling water. We don't want them to cook, we just want them to blanch. And what that means is they're just par cooking, just tenderizing them a little bit and turning them bright green. How's that zucchini coming over there?
I'm actually on the last one.
Oh, fantastic. Good job. You are quick. I like that. We've got a lot to do today, but we're going to make some recipes that only take about 5 to 10 minutes apiece. As usual, our recipes are always geared towards quick, easy, nutritious, and things that you can get quickly on hand at the store, nothing exotic. All right, looks like we got all the zucchini shredded over there, Courtney. I've got the tomatoes cut, the green tomatoes, and now I'm just going to put a little bit of garlic on our roasting tray too, so that can be roasting away. We're going to use this beautiful purple onion raw today. We've got 2 applications for it. We're going to put it in our salsa, and we're going to put it in one of the salads. But of course, as always, you can modify these recipes to your family's taste, however you want to. If you want more onion or less, just whatever works for you and your family. But these are the basics. So we're going to add some garlic cloves to our tray here and get those roasting. I've already got the peppers in the oven. And in just a second, I'm going to give you something else to do here, Courtney. I have to get the skillet for you because we're going to be frying that zucchini with some of this garlic. So let me get this in the oven and we will start that process next. And then I'll give you something. Perfect. That's exactly what we need to do is wring out that zucchini. Now you can use a food processor to chop your zucchini. Today we used our little hand threader. Those are kind of easy and fun. And then we're going to add all kinds of ingredients to that. But first we need to squeeze the moisture out. Zucchini can get really wet on us. So the more you shred it, the wetter it is, and we don't want it to be too terribly wet. So we're going to squeeze all that moisture out. You can use a cheesecloth, you can use a paper towel, or you can use a clean dish towel like what we're doing today. And that just, you're not going to get a lot probably in the container, but it's going to go into the towel mostly.
Soaking into the towel, yep.
Yep, exactly. And that's fine. We just need to get that extra moisture out of there. That's what makes zucchini pesto nice and moist, keeps us from having to use so much olive oil, and it also is what makes zucchini bread so nice and moist as well. All right, pop this in the oven. This is a jalapeno, some green tomatoes, just cut in half, and some garlic cloves. About 4 or 5 little pieces of garlic there. I'm going to pop those in the oven. Now, the oven is on broil. Actually, it's on as hot as we get here. Our oven here goes to 550. So it's not quite a broil, but it's a very hot oven. So it should roast those vegetables fairly quickly. Let me check my peppers while I'm down here. Yes, those are coming along great.
And all the zucchinis been
Fantastic.
squeezed.
All right, we are ready for the zucchini. And what we're going to do is we're going to saute that with a little olive oil, our wonderful extra virgin olive oil. This is going to go in the pesto, but this is about all the oil we're going to add. So that's going to be a lot less than what you normally would put in a pesto. So we're going to start that oven or that stovetop up. Meanwhile, I got the green beans out of our ice bath, and they're just draining over here. So these are blanched. They've been cooked for 5 minutes on a boil and then thrown directly into an ice bath, and that stops the cooking process, keeps them firm and nice and green. So setting those over there. So whenever that skillet gets nice and hot, if you want to take the zucchini over there,
Yeah,
I will put you in charge of saute.
sounds
So
good. I would love
you're
to.
just going to get those crisps up for us. Meanwhile, I'll keep chopping vegetables over here. Get our red onion prepped. And it helps if you prep your garlic and onion at the same time so that your cutting board gets those aromatics on it all at once and you're not going back and forth between your different flavors. Again, we can always flip our cutting board over too if we need to. Today's recipes are full of delicious smells of garlic and onion, basil. We've got tons of basil, as you can see. Our basil gardens are going nuts on us, which is wonderful. But that's another one. I love it. It's the smell of summer to me. But there's a lot of things you can do with basil. And it transcends a lot of ethnic cooking. There's a lot of different nations that use basil in their cooking. So I'm going to dice a portion of our red onion here. Get it into small little dices. That's about it for that. Let's see, I had some extra bowls. There they are. Always keep some extra bowls on hand. That way we can toss the recipes, ingredients in those bowls as we're cooking and clean our station up as we go along. And then this one I just want to slice into long, thin slices. Nothing too fancy. We're just going to sprinkle those. Last minute, we're going to toss those in with the red onion, or the green tomatoes, and use those as a light roasted element in our salsa. Okay, getting all things cleaned up. This is our garbage bowl, always handy in the kitchen. Have your little bowl right by so you don't have to keep going back and forth to the trash. Everything goes in there and gets cleaned up at the end. Much more efficient way to clean. I do that in my own kitchen all the time, even if I'm just cooking for family, because it's just a better way to manage your kitchen. Get a little more garlic going. Can't go wrong with too much garlic. All right. How's that doing over there?
It's looking good.
Good.
It is cooking down.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Cooks down real fast. And we're going to put some garlic in there just for some flavor. I'm not going to chop that up too fine because it's going to go in the food processor in a few minutes. With our pesto, we're going to add about 4 of these pieces of garlic, just like that. And they're just going to start flavoring the zucchini over there. So that just gets stirred and worked with. Put a little garlic over there. And I can flip my board over. Ready to go. Fresh new board on there. All right, so let me regroup and think where we are. We've got our zucchini going. We've got our food in the oven, our red peppers roasting. We have our green tomatoes roasting. So now what I'm going to do is start making a vinaigrette and a sauce for our different recipes here. Let's see, where's my small bowl? I'm just losing bowls left and right today, aren't I? I'll just use this one. All right, for our mozzarella and red pepper salad, we're going to use some vinaigrette. This is wonderful balsamic vinaigrette and some olive oil. Now this is Robusto, strong flavored olive oil. You can use lighter olive oil if you want to, but for salads, I really like to use the robust flavors. And I said this was for our mozzarella salad, and actually it's not. This is for the green bean salad. Don't tell anybody. We're ready to put that one together, actually. So I'm going to take and stir the balsamic and the olive oil together. Get that emulsified and mixed together. And then we're going to add a little bit of red pepper flake, just a tinge, not a lot, just about 1/8 of a teaspoon, very little. We don't want to overpower the heat, but we want to add some flavor. Add a little bit of salt. Just about, again, another 1/8 of a teaspoon. We don't need a whole lot. You can season that to taste. And a little black pepper. Again, this has got wonderful, rich flavors. It doesn't need a lot of strong flavors with it. All right, just mixing that together, making a nice light dressing. Now what we're going to add to this, which is going to really pop that flavor right up, is some basil. So we're going to pick the basil leaves off of here. How's that zucchini looking over there, Courtney?
It's looking good.
Fantastic. Let me know when it looks browned and you're having to scrape the bottom of the pan a little bit to get the bits up. That's
Okay.
about what we're looking for.
All right.
Now one thing about basil you have to know is basil does not like cold. So putting basil in your refrigerator is going to turn it black immediately. It just wilts it. It does not like the cold air at all. So you always want to keep basil in a vase on your counter. It's a flowering plant. It's beautiful. Matter of fact, you can see the flower buds on some of our basil. What's happening there is it's going to seed. That's great because we can harvest those seeds and keep them in a cool, dry place over the winter, and plant those again in the spring, and we'll have our own basil. We don't have to buy new basil plants. Those do regerminate, but you have to take them off the plant. We have a huge cilantro plant in the back. Huge! I've never seen one so big. It's got woody stems on it. It's just amazing. And it's going to seed also. Those seeds are called coriander. So those are actually usable, and it will regerminate itself anyway. We'll have cilantro forever if we keep going the way that one's going. All right, so we're going to go ahead and assemble our first salad. And our first salad is going to be the green bean salad. So we have our cherry tomatoes. And over here, just out of the ice bath, we have our green beans. This one I want to put on a beautiful clear tray. So we have a tray here. We're going to distribute our green beans out here. So nice and fresh and lovely. Very pretty. We're going to add some cherry tomatoes. Just distributing those through. Already looking good, but watch this. Then you put on that gorgeous balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and basil dressing. And you just drizzle that over the top, just like that. This is a light, refreshing side salad, delicious, perfect for summer. Has all the flavors of summer in it with the ripe tomatoes and the basil. And that dish is done already. So it's plated and ready to go. We're going to set that over here. So easy, so easy. And we're going to sprinkle a little bit of our onion, our purple onion, right over the top. Just add a little pop of color, a little more flavor. If you don't like the onion, don't put any onion in your food. But if you would like to, this is where that pretty purple onion comes in. It just adds that little pop of color and flavor. Okay, I need to check those vegetables in the oven real quick, Courtney. So if you could scoot over for me, I don't want to let those go too long. Ah, looking good, looking good. They can go in there for just a couple more minutes. Yeah. Sorry, I popped out of view for a minute there, but I had to check the oven. You have to be safe first and foremost. Okay. I do want to add these green, I've got to make you move one more time because I want to add these onions to our tomato grill. I don't want to put those in early because they'll get too soft. I just want to grill those a little bit. Now, speaking of grill, you can actually use a grill to do these vegetables if you prefer. The key is you're trying to get a good char on them. You're trying to get those vegetables really done. So I'm just going to toss those onions in there so they get a little bit of that rawness off of them, get that cook off of them. Thank you, Courtney. Mm-hmm. Courtney gets the fun part in just a few minutes because she's going to get to whir our food processor. We haven't worked with our food processor in the kitchen yet, so she's going to get to play with that.
This will be my first time using a food processor.
Really?
Yep.
Very cool. Well, I'll tell you what, you get spoiled with all these kitchen appliances and all the fun things you can do in the kitchen. So we're going to teach you how to use a lot of these different things. Now, I do want to get some lemon zest, and we're going to be using our lemon zest with our mozzarella. So our mozzarella is going to be mixed with our peppers that are in the oven. Mozzarella, fresh mozzarella, comes in a liquid in a container. Sometimes it's in a plastic bag, sometimes in a plastic container. There are ways you can make your own. That's another whole day to learn how to make cheeses. But the mozzarella balls I have here are nice and small. There's actually even one I found that was even smaller than this. They're called pearls. But this is a perfect size for the appetizer that we're making today. Most mozzarella comes in a pretty big size ball, and that you can slice and use for caprese, which is a tomato, basil, and mozzarella salad. But those are too big and dense for what we want today. We just want to use these lovely little mozzarella balls. Toss those in our bowl over here. Now, all of these salads actually are even better when they're marinated overnight. We don't have that luxury today to do that right now with you filming in front of you, but if you do have the opportunity to make these ahead of time and let them sit overnight, they taste even better the next day, particularly our tomato and green bean salad and this mozzarella salad. All right, I'm going to get a little bit of lemon zest here over our mozzarella. This is the rind of a lemon, and it's a shame to waste this beautiful, fragrant ingredient. So whenever possible, try to zest your fruits, your lemons and your limes, because that is a wonderful flavor pop. Oh, can you smell the lemon? Mm-hmm. Oh, it smells so good. We're just taking that outside color off. We're not getting down into the white pith. That's a little bitter. We're just taking the white, the yellow right off of there, and you can see it popping down into the bowl. How's that doing? Looking pretty good?
Yep. How's it look? Need to go a little bit browner?
Just a tiny bit. Matter of fact, you might turn the heat up just a little bit and get a nice little hot sear on it for just the last minute. But we're getting close. Again, zucchini's so moist, it's hard to get it to brown up. When I was a very young bride, my brother-in-laws used to come over to our house, and they would bring me zucchini. And I would fry and cook zucchini for hours, and as fast as I could take it out of the skillet, those boys would eat it. And I can remember because they were two big boys, and my husband too, so there were three big boys eating fried zucchini just as fast as we could get it out of the skillet. Those were fun days. Back when things were simpler. And I'm going to use some of this lemon juice as well. So I'm going to cut my lemon after I've zested it. I only need about a third of that lemon. I need about a tablespoon of lemon juice. I brought my juicer. Now you can do with a fork or in your hand. I'm old school. I like my juicer. I like to get all the juice out of here, and it also helps me collect the seeds in the bottom. And then I take my sieve, and I just pour that lemon juice right over those mozzarella balls. And see, it collects all that extra pith and seed right there. Actually, I wanted to do this with a lime, so we're going to get those seeds out of there. Perfect. Back into our garbage bowl that goes. Now we're going to drizzle this with a little bit of olive oil. Now the recipe calls for a lot. It calls for a half a cup of olive oil. This is a great recipe. This is going to be our roasted red peppers with mozzarella and olive oil. It's got basil in it too, but what's wonderful is the oil, the longer it sits, takes on more of the flavor of the peppers, and is fabulous over brown rice. It's fabulous with pasta, so you can use the sauce even after you've served this as an appetizer. But for today, I'm only going to use about 1/4 cup of good olive oil, because we just don't need all that excess today. We're going to sprinkle that with a little bit of salt. This one we're going to do about a 1/2 teaspoon, 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon. Get that in there. So that's just lemon juice and olive oil in this dressing. The other one had the balsamic vinaigrette on our green beans. This one is lemon juice and olive oil. All right, Courtney, I'm going to need to get in that oven and get those peppers out, I think. I think they're just about done. Oh, and that's looking fantastic. Yep. I think that's about done too. Perfect. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a char on those peppers. We want those to be almost burnt. That is a perfect pepper right there. Love it. And those didn't have anything on them. I didn't toss them in olive oil. We don't really need anything else. We just want to sear or brown the outside of those peppers by putting them in the oven on a broil for about 7 minutes. If you have a true broiler, I would watch it. Maybe 4 to 5 minutes should do it. But the tops of the peppers get blistery and hot. I'm going to let those sit on the side just for a couple minutes because I want those to cool off a little bit before I put them in with the mozzarella. We don't want hot, hot, hot peppers going right in on top of that mozzarella. Okay, Courtney, that's smelling fantastic. I think we're ready to go on to the next step for you.
All right.
And that is working with this food processor. Now, what you're going to do is come on over here and bring that skillet. Yeah, the handle's hot, so if you need another cloth, please, be sure and be careful. Safety first. And you're just going to scrape all that right into our food processor. Right. Now, it's got those cloves of garlic in it too, but we didn't break them down. We don't have to because they're going to be whirred into our food processor. Yum, yum, yum. Yeah, if you can get all those little bits out of there. If you can't, that's fine, but there's some lovely charred bits in here. We add all that flavor.
How's that?
Smells amazing. And you can just set that right back over on the stove. Just be careful. Trade places with you. Now you're going to start adding some ingredients. Now this is the pesto. And a pesto is basically our herbs, some nuts, and some Parmesan cheese mixed with anything green. You can mix anything green with this. So what we're going to do is toss in some lovely greens. Okay. We've got some curly leaf parsley here. So you're going to start by getting the stems off the curly leaf parsley. You can do this with your hands. You just pull them. Okay. Boop, boop. If it gets a little stem on it, no big deal. Just toss it in there. Okay. It's going to be like the chef today. Toss, toss, toss. And you're going to do quite a lot of that, almost that whole thing. All right. Just pulling and tossing. While she's doing that, I'll go ahead and get some of this basil prepared for her because, again, this can go in whole leaf. I have some basil and parsley mixed together here. This is from my garden. I just went out this morning and cut them on my way in. Again, you don't really want the flowers on the top. You just want the leaves. But they're easy to just grab and go. A lot of basil in everything that we're working with today.
I love the smell of basil.
It smells so good. It does. They say, boy, there's just almost nothing that smells like summer as much as basil. Yep. And if you get a little bit of stem in there, it's not the end of the world. It's just not a big deal at all. It's just you want to try and get as little stem because stems can be woody, but most of these are tender and they'll chop up pretty well. But that's what's nice about this kind of cooking. In Italy, it's rustica. In rustica cooking, you just grab it by the handful and toss it in. It's just not a big deal. Right behind you. There's our basil in there. And this is going to get the rest of that lemon, that big shot of lemon flavor. So we're going to squeeze the rest of our lemon here. So I used about 1/3 of the lemon on our mozzarella, and the rest of the lemon juice is going to go in our pesto. Isn't that handy how that works? You just throw things over there. It makes life so easy when you're working in the kitchen. And poor little lonely lime over here, don't worry, we'll get to you. Now another thing that goes in pesto is a little bit of mint. So we've got parsley and basil and mint. Gives it that real herbaceous smell and flavor. This is absolutely delicious. Love cooking with herbs. It cuts down on your salt content too, which is really important. You don't want to have a real high salt content in your food. And the more flavor you can add, the less salt you need. We're just going to add a handful of mint here. Now, I'd say that's probably 1/4 of a cup.
So let me put it in.
There you go. I got to check our tomatoes real quick. We just have to watch our oven all the time because we don't want anything to burn. We want our food to be done well, but not overdone. Those are blistering up nicely, but they still need a little bit more time, which is good because we need to use the food processor for that too. So we'll have a double use today. While you're doing that, how are we doing? Looks pretty good. I think that's probably about right.
All right.
Wonderful. Now what you're going to do is you're going to strain the lemon juice in there.
All right.
Just dump that whole thing, that's fine. So we have our cooked zucchini. It was cooked in a little olive oil, cooked until it was soft. It has some garlic cloves in there that we cooked with it. We have mint, parsley, basil, lots of herbs. And then here's a really odd ingredient, nuts. Now, all pestos, usually, I shouldn't say always, but they have nuts in them. Most of the times it's almonds, but you can use cashews. I love this mix because it's almonds and it is the pistachio kernels mixed together. Pistachio adds a real interesting little twist to pesto. So I get these at CVS. Your stores have the mix all the time. And this is actually a salted roasted mix. So I'm not going to add extra salt to our pesto until we taste it because these will have some salt in it. And we're going to put probably about half of that right in there on top. Perfect.
All right.
We just set that aside. And now the magic. You put the lid on. There you go.
There
and
we
then turn. Make sure it locks. And then you're going to pulse and pulse and pulse. And we're not going to be able to, just keep going until it's nice and smooth. Whoop, you're unlocked.
Oh, there
you
we
go. Since you can't hear us and Courtney's doing that, I'll get the tomatoes out of the oven.
So good. I can smell it.
I know, you can really smell
really
all the
pretty
herbs.
too.
Now how's it doing? Is it loose? Is it really getting tight? Here's a spatula you can use to scrape that down and see. But if you think it needs a little more moisture, we can add a little bit more olive oil to make that nice and smooth.
It is a little chunky.
Okay. That's where the drizzle comes in. Now this is lower fat than usual pesto, but if you need to add a little extra olive oil is very good for you. And it adds so much flavor. It's well worth the calories. How's that looking?
Let's see what she looks like.
What you're looking for is a spread. You're looking for something that's got a spreadable consistency.
Okay, I think it's spreadable.
Okay.
You might want to check it.
Now we're going to add Parmesan cheese.
Wait,
That should have, oh yeah, see, pesto is a chunky, heavy sauce. We're going to add some Parmesan cheese to that now too, which is also another hallmark of a good pesto. So we're going to put about a half a cup.
Okay.
So lid off, let's see how she does with
wing it?
You just wing it. We're a winging it kitchen. We don't measure
Half a
anything.
cup.
We go by the seat of our pants.
Half a cup?
Now
maybe?
baking, you can't do that. Baking is precise. Baking is science. You really need to measure everything when you're baking. But when you're cooking like we are with friends and with you, we just wing it.
All right, anything else before we pulse again?
Pulse again and see how we do. If we need more liquid, we'll add, actually it's a little bit of water is something that we can add to it.
Okay.
So if we need to loosen that up just a little bit more, we can add some water to it. That's another secret for good hummus and for good pesto, is it doesn't always have to be oil that you're adding. If you need to loosen it up a little bit, you can add a little bit of water, and that also helps with that fluidity. But again, this is a chunky, rustic spread. We're going to put on some bread today and some vegetables. So if you need a little water in there,
Yeah.
Yeah, just
How
start with
much?
that's about right to start with,
Okay.
2 tablespoons. And you can actually pour it through the top as you're spinning if
Okay.
you need to loosen it up more too. That's why that big hole's in the top, to add liquids.
All right.
Courtney's learning all about
I
the
am.
kitchen today. I love it. Ah, perfect. Over here we have our wonderful grilled peppers. These are the broiled peppers we put in earlier. You can see they've softened up and are peeling off of the foil. Definitely line your pan with either foil. If you're broiling, it has to be foil because parchment paper will burn under a hot oven. And we're just tossing. Oh, the smells in here are amazing as always. But these red peppers just are so sweet. Smell so good. We're just tossing those peppers right in. And that actually cooled off enough that it's not even hot anymore. I can just pull them right off of the foil.
Oh, this looks good, Edie.
Is it good?
Yep.
Great.
Do we need to add anything else to it?
I think it's probably ready to plate. So what we need to do now is put it in this bowl. You can just, now
the
this
whole thing just
unhooks
slipped?
like that.
Okay.
Now there's the center piece, which is the blade, will actually come out.
Okay.
And I'm going to take that over here and
Yeah.
rinse it off because we're going to use this for our tomatoes. So I'm going to rinse it off while you just scrape that right
Yeah.
into that bowl.
Perfect.
Oh, does that smell? Herby, delicious. Since we're using similar ingredients and we're using another green dish, I just rinsed off our blades. Be careful doing that because we don't want to cut away to go to the kitchen to do dishes right now. So we're just going to get all that food out of there and then we'll be doing our tomatoes in there. I pulled those out of the oven. We're done with the oven. So now we're going to go over here, get a spoon. You want to use a slotted spoon for our peppers and mozzarella because it has so much oil in the bottom. Now again, that oil is just going to flavor up with those peppers. So the longer you let this sit, the more delicious it gets. That char is going to soften and get those flavors of lemon and the olive oil, good quality olive oil. Nothing smells better. It smells like fruit. So delicious. And there is that. That dish is done too. So we have 2 dishes done. We have our salad, our green bean and tomato salad. We have our wonderful roasted red peppers with the mozzarella. And looks like we have pesto. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Perfect.
Smells so good.
This is so good to toss on pasta, to toss on toasted bread, to eat with vegetables, which is what we're going to do today. We're going to eat that like a dip, but it is flexible and it keeps for about a week in the refrigerator, well sealed. Little tip on that, put it in a jar and put a little layer of olive oil on the top and that will seal it so it doesn't go bad as quickly. And that way you can keep that for up to a week in the refrigerator and just spoon it out as you want to. All right, our final recipe, we're going to use this again, so let me give that a quick swipe.
Yep.
Over here, I'm just using my water bath over here that I use for the green beans. I'm just using that as a dish bowl. Why not? Like I said, we're using green to green. It's clean. This dishcloth is clean, so we're just going to wipe that out. I just want to get that excess out of there so that it doesn't have all the herbs and things, but it'll just blend right into the pesto. You won't even see that or taste it. All right. We've got our spatula ready. We're ready to go again. Down that goes. Blade goes in. Again, watch these blades. They're super sharp. Obviously, they just chopped up a bunch of nuts. And we're ready to go with our tomatoes. Now, our tomatoes are the green tomatoes. They are well roasted. I just want to make sure this isn't too hot to carry over there. Nope, that cooled off real fast. Perfect. So we have our green tomatoes, we have garlic, we have the red onion, and we have a jalapeno. Now I'm going to take this jalapeno off for a second and set it aside because I don't want to use that whole jalapeno on here. So we're going to, matter of fact, Courtney, if you want to do this, I'll just let you. This is not hot. You can just scoop those right into there for me. You can use that if you need to. I'll work on the jalapeno then while she's putting green tomatoes, and I've got looks like about 10 small green tomatoes in here for our pesto, red onion and garlic cloves, about 4 of those garlic cloves. And I just put a little roast on the garlic cloves. I didn't want to cook those too much. And we're just going to get a little bit of jalapeno in there. So we're going to cut about 1/3 of the jalapeno off. Of course, the hottest part of a pepper are the seeds and the veins inside, so we're going to scrape those out so we don't have this with too much heat. Now, I personally like a lot of heat, but not everybody does, so you can adjust it to your family's taste. You can put 3 jalapenos in if your family likes it better. But for right now, we're just going to start with about 1/3 of that jalapeno. And then another hallmark of a good salsa, which is what this is lime. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a little bit of our zesting of our lime. And you can tuck that on the bottom shelf underneath you whenever you're done. Doesn't have to go far. I was going to say, yeah, that's fine. I was going to say all the way down, but that's fine. Perfect. And we're going to get some lime zest in here again, the flavorful part of a citrus fruit, right underneath that skin. It's got oils in it that just are so aromatic and add a ton of flavor. As you can probably smell it already, can't you?
Yeah.
Now, what's nice about this salsa is because we roasted the onions a little bit, not for long, but for a few minutes, they're not as bitey as raw onion. Now, if you prefer a stronger flavor, you can use plain raw onion in yours. But we're trying to make this a nice mellow salsa today. Now, what goes in here, which is the hallmark of a good salsa, is cilantro. And I already cleaned the cilantro up. We're at the end of cilantro season, so we didn't have a whole lot. We only had about 1/4 cup. And where is, I need our strainer and our, thank you. Perfect. We're getting so clean, we're getting ahead of ourselves like we usually do. We usually do tend to get ahead of ourselves here a little bit on keeping things clean. So we're just going to ream that lime. Nice juicy lime. Some years they're so hard, they don't have any juice in them. So you have to kind of know what your suppliers are giving you, whether it's going to have a lot of juice. You might need 2 of them if it's small, because lime adds that brightness and that zest. Okay. And that, if you would, go ahead, please, and strain that. It doesn't look like it has any seeds, but just to be safe, we're going to use our strainer anyway. And it looks like it picked some parsley up off the bottom of the strainer there, but that's okay, because we're going to put some in anyway. And I'm going to put that jalapeno in there. Boom, just like that. Fantastic.
Do you need this anymore?
No, we are done with that for now, for sure. And that's got some roasted garlic in it as well. So now we're ready to give that a whirl. It's got cilantro, lime. It has the tomatoes. I was going to say tomatillos because traditional South American cooking and Hispanic cooking uses tomatillos for salsa. But this is a great way to use those green tomatoes. Ready? Is it going to spin? Might have to check those locks. There you go. It's got a click in. Perfect. Safety. Safety first.
And how finely chopped will this be?
It's going to be a salsa, so a little chunky is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going for a puree. We're going for a nice chunky salsa.
Ooh,
And of course, you're going to taste it and see if it needs a little salt. Always salt to taste, but it's better to add salt later than to put too much salt on at the beginning.
Oh, it looks good.
Fantastic. And we'll just go ahead and put it in this bowl. May not hold all of it, but it's going to hold a good portion of it. And what's nice about the roasted vegetables, both for our pepper dish and for this tomato dish, is those little bits of char in there add color and flavor. Perfect. Oh, that looks fantastic, doesn't it? Nice and chunky. The red onion, add a little dash of color. That's perfect. Great. We'll get that a little bit of a
It smells good.
garnish on it. A little bit of red onion, just as a little bit of topper. A little bit of parsley on top of there too. And there you have it. Bounty from the garden. We have our zucchini pesto. We have our wonderful green tomato salsa with chips. We have that beautiful, this is so nice to serve as an appetizer, especially when you're having guests, the red pepper and mozzarella salad, and our green bean and tomato salad. Hopefully we've given you some inspiration today of things you can do with your garden. We could use some help in our garden.
Yes.
The weeds are pretty high from all the rain we've had, so if you want to come down and help Courtney, please just call us at Millrace Center. Thanks so much. Thank you, Courtney. I hope you enjoyed it.
Me.
Absolutely. And we'll see you again on another Table for One.